Hey, sweet souls. Thank you for watching, for being here. My name is Tara. Welcome to my channel. I want to talk today about one of the transgressions. Oh, let's turn that on silent. Of of natural law. So, natural law has many transgressions, but they all kind of roll into one. Um, and the reason I want to talk about this is because we do have an upcoming election here in the US, the US of A, actually. The US is the corporation. Um, so I want to talk about how voting is actually a form of coercion. And just bear with me while I get there. So, one of the transgressions of natural law, which natural law are universal laws. You could say God's law, or yeah, just the laws of the universe, right? They just are. You know, it also includes the seven hermetic principles, which I may have mentioned in my last video. Um, so coercion is actually one of the transgressions because coercion is a theft of choice, of free will, if you will. When someone is being coerced, they are doing something that they otherwise wouldn't do if there wasn't the consequence, right? And the coercion happens when, if you don't do this, then this will happen to you. And it's something that is perceived as bad. People don't want it. It's not, it's basically doing harm, right? Coercion is harm. And I'm going to talk about that on a grander scale, but first let's look at the micro, because everything, one of the hermetic principles, right? As within, so without. So everything is a reflection, a mirror. So on the inside, if we can coerce ourselves to do something that we don't want to do because we think there's some sort of consequence to it, right? That either doesn't exist, or, if it does, it's really nothing to be afraid of, or, there's all these different scenarios. Oftentimes, people coerce others. And I say coercion, and I include manipulation and lying. And we lie to ourselves all the time, right? Just trying to sometimes just to get through the day and just to justify, why we're doing a certain thing, or um, we don't want to actually do the work or take the action, and so we justify our actions. And that is, to me, self coercion, because which all happens in the mind. I'm sorry, you guys, about this. Okay, beeping. I think that's going to stop now, I think. So when we coerce other people, we are manipulating them, right? On an interpersonal level, we do this often in our relationships, all of our relationships, where we want a certain outcome to happen. And so in order to get the outcome that we want, because we feel it's what's right for us, it serves us somehow, it's what we desire, it's what we want. Now, this is different than asking for your needs to be met, or just saying that you want a certain thing, or setting boundaries. I'm not talking about that. Those are all very healthy things to do in any relationship. But the manipulation, the coercion, usually happens in a passive way, right? It's not like, hey, I really would love, for this thing to happen, or this makes me feel this way when this happens. That's different. That's like communication. Communication is absolutely essential in any relationship if you want to have a good relationship with anybody, with your partner, with your mother, with your children. Communication is absolutely essential, but from a conscious, aware place where you're not trying to manipulate them into doing something that you want them to do that maybe they otherwise wouldn't do, or they don't want to do. And so we do this all the time, and we don't even know we're doing it half the time. We really don't even know that we're doing it, because maybe it's just our way. And it comes a lot from this sense of wanting control, wanting to control our lives, wanting to control our environment so that we feel safe, so that we feel okay. So if you find yourself doing this, it's okay. It's okay. It's some egoic structure in you that is um, trying to protect itself, right? And there's a reason why. So it's not an opportunity for you to blame, shame, or judge yourself, right? That's the opposite. Like doing that it doesn't actually serve anything. It doesn't transmute anything. It doesn't alchemize anything. You go, oh my gosh, you judge yourself, and then it all just spirals and gets worse. And then you don't want to take any action because you just feel like, such shit about it. So this is the opportunity to go, oh, I just did that. Okay. So, and then why did I just do that, and get to the root of it, ask the question. So you see it, then where is this coming from? And sometimes that's all it needs to go, oh, okay, I don't need to do that. Oh, I'm feeling unsafe right now. Well, that's actually, and I know this seems not related to sovereignty, natural law, and voting and all of that, but just stay with me. I promise it is relevant, because as within, so without. So, yeah, so we can transmute this. We might need to give our little version of ourselves, called our inner child. We might need to give them love and say, oh, that came from the time that, the first time I ever felt this way was when I was 5, and this happened with my dad or my mom or my brother. And then we can look at it from that aspect. And that's a whole thing, and I'm not going to go deeply into that here. That is work that I do with clients as well, if that is coming up like in a session. So anyway, that's how you can approach it on a micro level with yourself, right? And everything starts within. Everything, all the answers are within. Everything starts within. I had an email from someone the other day that was like, hey, awesome work that you're doing. Keep it up. It's really, it's great. It's great what you're doing, meaning this, sort of sovereignty work that I'm doing in my course and things like that. But I really wonder if we need to be focusing on societal sovereignty first. And my answer to this person was, I hear you, and I understand why one might feel that way, right? That we would want to focus on the external first. But I've talked about this before, that everything is energy, right? So once we take the responsibility for ourselves and learn how to govern ourselves, self-governance, then we naturally will take action to organize and do, in our communities and in our group of friends or in our families even. It starts at home. It starts with the people that are closest to you. And that's taking radical responsibility for yourself and all of your actions and your relationships and everything that you're doing. So to go and say, oh, let's start outside of ourselves, let's start in society and get that in shape, and then we can start to work on ourselves. It needs, in my opinion, take it or leave it, really, it needs to be the other way around. We have to start here, because what is society made up of? A bunch of individuals, right? So that this whole like, oh, we have to do it for the good of everybody. It's like, everybody, like half the people have to suffer so the other half can get what they want. It's like, that doesn't make any sense, because then half the people are suffering. And what are we made up of? A bunch of individuals, even though we're all connected, we're all connected, and everything is energy. So we have to start within. No matter what the issue out there is, it's an inside game. So, okay, let's just talk about how this looks externally and how we can take that self-responsibility when it comes to coercion, right? So this also ties in with authority. And that's a whole nother video, but I'm gonna recap. I'm gonna just try to make it short here. So authority is this thing that we've all been, conditioned to believe is a right doing, right? That some men and women have authority over other men and women. We've just been taught to believe that that's just the way it is. There are some some that have authority over others. Okay. Well, when we're children, totally understandable. And yes, our caregivers, our loved ones, um, they do have, you could say, a type of authority, in that they're responsible for us, right? To make sure we don't, die, hopefully. And also more than that, also hopefully more than that, but at the very least to make sure that, we're not burning our freaking hands off and things like that and jumping off of bridges and all the things, right? So, but I'm talking about adults, right? A certain adults having authority over other adults. And why do we think this is okay? Why do we think it's okay for anyone to tell anyone else what to do, how to live? If we go deeply into natural law, it's actually immoral. There's no way about that because it's coercion. It's always coercion, right? Unless that's why we can get into there's so many tangents. Democracy is, people think, oh, it's so great, it's democracy. And now I'm not comparing us to other countries. I know that other countries have a lot worse situations going on. Okay. I'm not trying to get into that. But democracy, roughly half of the population is not on board with, whoever gets voted for example, let's just use that. Right. So then half of the population is like, oh, well, they don't actually get what they want, but the other half does. So do you see how that's coercing this other half? We'll just make it easy because everybody's being coerced. They're being coerced into, living ways maybe they don't want to live. And again, the tenet of natural law is do no harm. So that means that goes for everyone in every way. So this isn't like, oh, we just can do whatever we want and go and hurt people and, do all that's absolutely not what I'm saying. Self-governance, do no harm to yourself or others first, right? And then we actually don't need any authorities. People think, oh, we need the authorities because otherwise everybody would just go crazy. There'd be chaos and violence. Look around you, folks. There's already chaos and violence, but more chaos and violence, the corruption of so-called government, which, as we know, is what does the most harm and causes so much chaos and violence and just kills people and, has permission to just kill whoever they want, do whatever they want. Coercion and violence does not save us from, chaos and violence does not save us from chaos and violence. So I'm not saying I have all the answers here to what should we do? How do we create this new society where we're all just self-governed? Well, that's going to take time. And that takes all of us to say, hey, there has to be I know there's a better way because so many people are being harmed in this way, including myself, including all of us, if we're engaging with this system of harm, right? And fear and greed and corruption and all the things. So, there's so many. So when you're voting for a man or woman to be able to have the right to tell you what to do, and of course, the president doesn't even have any power or authority, like really at all. It's all like, it's a big circus, it's a show, it's all big old fakey, fake. So if you believe in that system and believe that there's even differences between the right and the left, then you should probably not watch this video anymore because it's not for you. And that's okay. I have no judgment. Everybody does, that's part of it. You can't tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do or how they should live or what they should think or any of that. Unless they're harming someone, right? If someone's going out on the street with like a machine gun, obviously then we have the right to say, no, you can't do that. So voting is actually outsourcing your well-being, yourself, your life to someone else to tell you what to do. And to think that that's okay, that someone else can tell you what to do, right? And it's coercion. There is like full stop. It is coercion. There is no other way to look at this. And it is absolutely immoral. You just can't do that. You can, and people do all the time, right? But it's only coming from a place of fear. If we don't do this, if we don't have this in place, if we then, and sure, if we suddenly didn't have, presidents and all kinds of, all of this quote unquote government, the basically cartel, right? It's the government. If we didn't have all of this, YouTube might just totally take this video down, and that's fine. If we didn't have all of that, then the world would just burn and everybody would be out on the streets with guns. Like, really? Do you really think that? Would you be out on the street with guns if there were such? Would you be? No, I don't think so. And the people who are or who would be are already doing it. They're already the ones that are doing it because there are already laws in place to prevent people from doing harm, but people do it anyway. So my point is if you actually think about it if you just stop to think about it for a second, there is no way to go, yes, we should have authority, democracy. It's all very, it's all going to move us, in the direction of a better life, better society, better everything. Guys, we've had this system in place for, hundreds of years. Let's think about that for a second. So I'm not getting political because actually I guess I would call myself post-political because I don't subscribe to the circus at all. Like, it's just a circus world. And do we need leaders? Sure, possibly, or councils or whatever, but we can decide on that voluntarily as a community, locally. And I think that's how it's going to have to start. We can't have global stuff. We can't even have national, leaders and things like that. It's just going to have to be really local. So please don't put any hate comments about it's your duty to vote or anything like that, because if you just listen to this video, then you'll see very clearly why that would never even, I wouldn't take it personally, but it's just a non-starter, for me. And I think if you're watching this, then it might be for you too. So I just wanted to share that. And, of course, on a grander scale, just to think for a second about the whole voting thing. And then, of course, to think, inside about how you might be coercing or manipulating yourself and others. And when it all comes down to it, if you're stuck in the duality of right and left and voting, if this person is better than this person, whatever, it's conditioning. Like, there's no other way, but it's your conditioning. And if you're thinking in one of those two ways, it's either this or it's this, then you're not thinking just for yourself. And I know that's going to piss people off for me to say that, but because you think there's just these two options. Well, that there's not. There's so many other options, and we're the ones who are going to be creating this world where those guys just totally fall away because they're irrelevant and harmful and useless, and if you keep supporting it because you think, oh, there's nothing better and I just have to, because then you keep supporting the system. So if we all stop supporting the system, then it would crash and burn like tomorrow, right? But I know that's not going to happen right now. But it's in your mind. It's a thought in your mind that says, ooh, that's better. Ooh, that's better. Or, and if you tune into yourself, like on a soul level, so say tune into your soul, I talk about energy here. And, I believe that if we can just get back to living from soul, right? Soul, heart. What is our body telling us? What is our heart telling us? What is our soul telling us? That's where you'll find the truth. That's the only place you're going to find the truth. You're not ever going to find the truth in the mind. It's another video I can do on the mind. The mind is not here to help you discern what is best for you. The mind does not know what is best for you. The mind is an egoic structure, for the most part, that is there to try to keep you safe. And the mind is very useful for certain things. It's very useful for taking in information, like you just listened to me speak. It's taking in that information, processing it, digesting it. Okay, that's it. And then it's useful for very logical processes tasks, making plans, making lists, all of these things. Very useful, and we need it for that. I'm not saying get rid of the mind and it's not good for anything, but when it comes to actually like discerning what is right for me, what is the truth, your mind has no answers for you. Zero, none, absolutely none. Unless it's like, what do I want for lunch? And then I still think you could tune into your body and be like, chicken, or, like that. I mean, that's a whole different topic on like intuitive eating, but you can do everything intuitively. Except there are certain things you need your mind for. But anyway, that can be, another video, but I just wanted to address this because we do have the craziness coming up in a couple months, and people are very divided. And hello, that's the whole point of that system, is to divide us and make us hate each other and fight so that we never remember that we're actually one, that we actually all come from the same place, that we're all soul, that we're all just souls walking around, with huge ego minds, and it's not serving us. It's not serving you. So yeah, I know there was a lot in this video, and I know a lot of folks who talk about all these things are just very practical and very logical, and that's great. There's a place for that. But as you can see with me, I try to be very holistic and just look at it from all kinds of different angles, because I believe that is, well, yeah, just taking into account the wholeness, of us as souls, as human bodies, as having minds, and all the things that are going on. So please, if you have questions, leave them below. If you have comments that aren't, vote or die or anything like that, please do leave those as well. I really look forward to hearing from you. You can check out my website at taralong.com. I do have a page called Natural Law there that you can see. I do one-on-one consultations with folks, and I also have a course, a 7-week course that's going to be starting hopefully fairly soon. And everything is offered on a sliding scale. So hopefully you can find something that works for you. Okay, sending so much love.